on. Here we go. Yo, you already know what's going on, Fabian Perspective. So expect it and accept it. I got a special guest in the building. I didn't even know what this guy was a contributor to one of the hottest websites around. We were just talking about that. The NBA, one of the hottest NBA websites around on Fadeaway World. It's a producer still for the Ryan Show FM and the Fox Sports 1280 show.
Yeah, I still contribute every once in a while for sure, but most of my time's taken up by Fadeaway World right now. So
he's a writer and producer. He's like a bright light Dr. Dre out here. But my man Nick Mack, how you feeling, Nick Mack?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good despite my my squad blowing a late lead last night. I'm sure we'll get to that, but I'm feeling good, man. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me, my man.
No, pleasure's all mine. I wanted to get it right into that though, because you are a Mavericks fan. We could talk about that because I'm a Knicks fan, and we went through a similar. We ended up both with a loss. We had Cam Reddish in the game; he was hot, but you guys had Christian Wood in the game. That's the talk of the town right now for you guys. Anyone who's a Dallas fan, what do you think happened right there with Jason Kidd and the Mavericks decision?
I don't know what he's thinking, man. First of all, I don't know why he's not starting. In my opinion, he needs to be in there over JaVale McGee. Period. He's way more productive on the offensive side of the floor. I understand that JaVale McGee, it brings a rim protection element that we haven't had in years. You know, we probably haven't had a good rim protector, even Porzingis. We probably haven't had a good rim protector since Tyson Chandler. And I understand that McGee brings that. He gives Luka a lob threat. But Christian Wood brings all of that and more. Christian Wood actually he's a better playmaker, I think, by far than JaVale McGee. Better passer. Did you see the way he was passing the ball last night?
Yeah,
the ball movement was amazing with him on the floor. And when he scores 16 straight points to build a lead like that, you take him off of the floor and you blow that lead. I have no idea what Jason Kidd was thinking. And I've loved the job Jason Kidd has done with the Mavericks so far, but that was not his best moment last night.
No, that was like Tom Thibodeau-ish.
No.
As a Knicks fan. And the thing is, Jason Kidd is my favorite point guard ever. Like some people say, you know, I've struggled with him being the best passer I've ever seen in my life. But these are the sort of things I seen when he was on the Brooklyn Nets and even on Milwaukee. I would see these little lapses with him. And I mean, last year obviously was just this jump up where everybody agreed, because to get Christian Wood there, and do we have to give Nico Harrison his props for that, for bringing in Christian Wood? Is that all him?
I think we got to give Nico Harrison some props. Nico Harrison, I love that hire because he's a player's executive. You know what I mean? He's in tune with the players. I know he's got a really good relationship with Kawhi Leonard and everybody through the Nike brand. So I love that acquisition of him last year. We got to give him a little time to keep building. My problem is the Dallas Mavericks haven't been able to attract big free agents since I've been alive. So, you know, we've always tried to build through the draft and build through trades. That's how we got Tyson Chandler back in the day. And, you know, Tyson Chandler deserves his props for that 2011 championship. I just want to throw that out there. People forget he was the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year that year. So, and then he won it the next year with the Knicks, I believe.
Yes. I don't know if it's well-deserved, but he doesn't get his props. He's not going to get his props. It's just.
No, because defense isn't sexy, right?
Exactly. You said it better than I could. What do you expect from the Mavs though? Because I know we got Jalen Brunson from you guys, but this Christian Wood thing, to me, the acquisition on offense, it makes up for a lot. He's bigger, he can do a lot, he can provide the scoring, and he can pass from a right, he can shoot, and he can pass from a different angle than Jalen Brunson and see over these double teams. Like Jalen Brunson, you can see that in the preseason. He can't see. He's very smart player, but he can't maybe.
And Brunson struggled last night for a little while. He struggled in that first half. You know, he got things going later on, and I love what I saw from Cam Reddish. I'm a Duke fan, so I'm rooting for Cam Reddish, man.
Wait till you see our reaction. I was doing something called Knicks Wednesdays. My man, Uncle Ice, all ball with Uncle Ice. We do that every Tuesday, but yesterday was our first Knicks Wednesday. He called it. I said, I want to see RJ Barrett with the ball at the end of the game. I've seen RJ Barrett so many times with the ball at the end of the game. He goes, nah, man, Cam Reddish is better. And
whoa.
Oh, yeah. Listen, it's New York. You know we hype everything up.
Oh, hell yeah.
So
I'm from New York, so I get it.
Are you from Queens?
No, I'm actually from Long Island.
Oh, okay.
I don't live there anymore. I've lived in Canada for about 6 years now.
Okay, because I saw you and Ryan V talking about it. I was like, yo, are they from Queens? I'm like, 6 degrees of separation.
So Ryan and Mr. Cheeks from the Lost Boys, they're best friends. And Mr. Cheeks co-hosts the Ryan Show with him. And they used to throw parties every Monday night in Queens at a place called Tavern Lounge. Tavern Lounge has since been shut down.
Oh yeah.
Because I believe somebody got killed there.
Not a surprise.
But yeah, they used to throw parties there every night. They did a live show. And Ryan's always in Queens. He's always in the city doing his thing, making moves. And that's our connection to the city, man. And also Hampton Dave, the other co-host of the show, he lives in Brooklyn. So
okay.
Yeah, so and Mr. Cheeks, he's always he holds it down in Queens. That is Mr. Queens right there. So
that's a Queens legend. He did listen. Again, Lost Boys aren't talked about enough in rap history. They have
hell no. Hits. Especially New York rap history, man.
Yeah, they held the 90s down, just quality hits. You listen to them, it's timeless. But what do you expect from the Mavericks? I know I want to get back to basketball. Yeah. We can jump on hip hop if you want.
But we can do that later.
What do you expect from the Mavs? Because for me, I don't expect much from the Knicks, but just to make quality moves. And last night, Thibodeau they called a quality play, everything that I wanted. But for you guys, it wasn't that. So what do you expect? More of that, up and down?
I hope not. I mean, we had that game in the bag for 3.5 quarters. It felt like, we let them climb back a little bit in the third quarter, and I expect Luka to be Luka, but I really expect Kid to make the adjustments that are necessary to win games. And for me, I said it at the beginning when we were talking, Christian Wood's got to be in that starting lineup, and McGee's got to be coming off the bench, in my opinion. Tim Hardaway Jr. being back and being productive is up in the air right now.
Right.
We've never seen Hardaway come off the bench for the Mavs. You know what I'm saying? So Spencer Dinwiddie, he's a good third option right now. But I think that, a deadline move is what this team is going to need, and they need another shot creator. Luka needs that pressure on Luka right now to create everything on that offense is way too much. And I understand that Dinwiddie can create his own shot and everything, but he's not consistent with it. And neither is a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith. And I love Dodo. I love Dorian Finney-Smith. What he brings on both sides of the ball, love his energy. He's a fan favorite in Dallas. But for me, man, that's what needs to happen. We need another shot creator / playmaker. Take some pressure off of Luka. Get another secondary scorer next to him. Or make the adjustment and put Christian Wood in the starting lineup with Luka on the floor. I think that Luka makes big men look better than they are. He's kind of like Chris Paul in that aspect. Chris Paul has made big men look better than they are his entire career. I mean, he made DeAndre Jordan All-NBA. He made Clint Capella All-NBA. You know what I mean? So,
I forgot DeAndre Jordan made All-NBA
3 times.
That's kind of insane.
Yeah, all with the Clippers, all with Chris Paul as his point guard. And I think Luka Doncic has that effect. If you watch the last 20 games of the season last year, Dwight Powell had his best stretch that he's ever had because Luka was feeding him and Luka was creating easy buckets for him at the basket. So Luka, with a big man that can create his own shot, that's dangerous to me. And Christian Wood can create his own shot. So I'm still dumbfounded at why Kid has McGee in that starting lineup over Christian Wood. I don't think you trade what you traded for Christian Wood without making a move for him to be the starter. But hopefully that adjustment's made down the road. Jason Kidd has done a great job with the Mavericks. There's no denying that. And it's definitely different in this, his attitude and his coaching style is definitely different than what it was in Milwaukee and Brooklyn. But, he learned a lot from being on Vogel's staff on that championship run in 2020. I think he's been humbled as a coach. I think he's smarter as a coach. But last night, like I said, lapse in judgment. Hopefully that is not, that's the exception and not the rule.
I don't know if you watch baseball. I'm obviously a Mets fan from Queens, so I'm a Mets fan. We saw it last year with our coach. Same thing. It seems like analytics, people overthink. But what happened to the feel for the game? And then, of course, we can always point to, because I want to get back to Nico Harrison. There's only going to be 5, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 teams a year that can actually have a chance to win. And that's primarily because there's only 4, 5, 6 top players. Once you have one of those guys, it ain't much to do around them. you're gonna like it ain't that hard to win around them. You can't win around them. You're not really a good GM. Something's going on with the team, and I don't.
I think it's too quick to jump on Nico though. I think I got to bring that more on Cuban. Cuban has never been able to reel in the big fish. Think about how many times we've ushered in the big name free agents. Think about the Carmelo, the Dwight Howard, the LeBrons. Ushered them all in. We were one of the first teams out every single time. Even Darren Williams, when he was a free agent from the Jazz. And Dallas is his hometown team.
Yes.
He grew up a Mavericks fan.
Yeah. Wow.
And he chose the Nets over Dallas. And I don't think Cuban's ever been able to reel in that big fish. He got lucky with the Dirk trade on draft night. Remember, Dirk was traded for
Milwaukee.
Tractor trailer on draft night. Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah. Oh man, God bless.
And then that was a great draft for him. Things were looking great. I think they turned Pat Garrity into Steve Nash that draft too, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah.
That was 98?
98 or 99.
Yeah, Paul Pierce, right?
Yeah. And Pat Garrity went like 8th overall.
That's crazy.
Nuts.
He got drafted by the Magic, no, Garrity?
No, he got traded to the Magic.
And that's how
I'm sorry, we acquired Pat Garrity on draft night from the Magic, and then we traded him coupled with like a pick for Steve Nash.
Got you. Steve Nash was
in Phoenix.
Yeah, and his first Phoenix run. But no, I was not trying to blame Nico Harrison whatsoever.
Yeah, I know what you're saying though.
Yeah, I think that this era, and I'm glad you talked about Mark Cuban because look, as a Knicks fan, and I just as a sports fan in general, I don't think we stress enough the top of the organization. Like I just said, if you have one of the 5 or 6 best players in the league, Luka's considered that right now.
Yeah, as he should be.
Yeah, as he should be. He's that talented. How much is Mark Cuban getting in the way? Because they did a lot for him. They got. I mean, this is Don Nelson Jr. retired. That's a big deal. Rick Carlisle. That means you chose the star over Rick Carlisle and Donnie Nelson, who's going to probably be who could have been there for decades, really, a part of that organization.
Yeah, I love Don Nelson. That? I'm mixed on Cuban because Cuban seems on the outside looking in. He looks like an owner that the players would love. He's engaged in games. He's on the court. He's probably the loudest dude in the building, right? Courtside, sitting on the bench with the players, almost getting in huddles on timeouts in big games just because he's hyping up his squad. So that looks like a guy somebody would love. But I think, and I don't think it's just the Mavericks that have had this problem. I think we've all fallen in love with analytics a little too much. And I think Cuban has started to go that way a little bit. And he's like, oh, we don't need to build the right squad around Luka because analytics says otherwise. When really, if you just watch the flow of the game and get a feel for the game, like you were saying, he needs something. He needs better shooters. He needs somebody in his backcourt to make up for the lack of defense. He needs another shot creator and a shot maker. But I mean, he does have shot makers. Let me not trash the rest of the Mavericks.
Yeah, but it was only 4 guys in double figures last night. So, and then you see Luka, and then Woody's going to be off and on. So and then Christian Wood being there is like he's more towards what you're saying. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and then listen, there's only one guy in the Mavericks I think we have kept around way too long, and we signed him to an extension this past offseason, and that's Maxi Kleber. He's got to go, man. Got to go. He's never healthy. He's inconsistent. I understand that he's had pretty good moments for us. He's knocked down big threes in that Jazz series last year, kept us in a few games. He's played great defense. But then, he'll either be hobbled or miss the next 15 games with, his back is just not holding up. And I think he's become a little overrated by other Mavericks fans. You know what I'm saying? The Mavericks fans love Maxi Kleber. And he's not the problem. But that's a guy that could have been expendable, man. Like, we could have traded Maxi Kleber for Lauri Markkanen last year. And I think Lauri Markkanen would have, or 2 years ago, and Lauri Markkanen would have been a way better addition to this team right now. Look what Lauri Markkanen did last night for the Jazz. He went off.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And it's funny because he was just mentioning like one of the top 20 players in the league. I was like, not Markkanen. I saw him in Cleveland with those 3 7-footer lineups he used to have last year. they used to run. And I liked it, but it felt kind of, out of sync a little bit, kind of doofy actually. But the Jazz had like 10 players play last night. Like they played an amazing game.
Oh, they played unbelievable. I couldn't believe the Nuggets came out as flat as they did. But man, I can't get over. You mentioned Cleveland. I can't get over that game last night. That was amazing. I don't know if you caught any of it.
I caught the end of it because we went watching the Knicks game. Me and Uncle Weiss.
Toronto is going to be a problem for a long time. They're going to be a problem in the East, man. They picked up that big win last night, and Scotty Barnes, the young man, he made the biggest play of the night at the end. Transition bucket on an inbounds with like 8 seconds left. He made the right pass, and he finished it. So it was beautiful basketball on both sides. I mean, the Cavs are going to be a problem too. Let me not get ahead of myself. Like Micheal, Garland, Mobley, Allen, they're going to be fantastic. But so is Toronto. So
again, Masai Ujiri, Koby Altman.
One of the best owners of basketball, man. One of the best executives.
Yeah, that's the. I'm actually working on something now, like a project where I'm working on, the best general managers of our time in basketball, whatever. And I wanted to start. Koby Altman was the guy who
good name drop.
He caught my eye because I worked in that area where he's from in Brooklyn, New Utrecht, and it's a real heavy Jewish community. And but they say he's black and Jewish, so I'm like, wait, so he is Jewish because New Utrecht, Brooklyn is known for that. So it's his whole story, the way he talks is very New York. Remember, this is post LeBron and Kyrie. You lost 2 of the top 20. Well, I'll be fair about Kyrie's game. 2 of the top 20 players, you lost them and you got them back into this position. It's not an accident. They've
done a really great job of scouting talent. I mean, to be able to, Garland was a diamond in the rough, man. Garland's been fantastic. And then,
Garland wasn't that in college because I don't watch college ball.
I really don't either, but he wasn't that highly touted. But I think they take him in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did.
So, and I know people questioned him being in the top 10 picks, like being a lottery pick. So I know that was called into question afterwards, but he's developed into something really special, in my opinion. And what they got going over there as a playmaker, as a scorer, he's been incredible for them. And he keeps getting better. You add that you acquire Jared Allen by trade, and then you draft Evan Mobley. You make the trade for Donovan Mitchell. The dude's been working, and it's fantastic.
Yes, I think he's better. He's better than Donovan Mitchell, but Mitchell provides that scoring where at the end of a game it was tough for Garland to play make and really truly score as a playmaker at the end of a game. He's just small.
Yeah, and I think that's what Mitchell's problem was in Utah. Utah needed him to be a scorer and the primary playmaker, and that's not Mitchell's game. Mitchell needs a playmaker next to him like Garland, and then he could just maximize his scoring. As we saw last night, I think what did he end up with, 27 last night?
If I'm not mistaken, because he was killing.
Oh, the first half was crazy. He just like the second quarter, you finally got it going. He was just knocking everything down, but. Mitchell being there, it allows him to be more aggressive scoring wise and takes that playmaking burden off of him. If you open Donovan Mitchell up where all he has to do is just be a scorer, that's a dangerous situation for anybody.
And he had 31, by the way. And then
okay.
Yeah. No, I just looked it up. Evan Mobley is the next guy coming up with Duncan and the Duncan comparisons, and he's kind of like KG and Duncan. He's a hybrid. And I think as of right now, if Mitchell keeps doing this, I'm okay with it. But as long as he doesn't think, in my opinion, as long as he doesn't think he's going to be the best player in the next 5-10 years, that's Mobley and that's Garland for me. But I think he's learned. He's going to learn from the experience with Gobert, where it's like you're not going to get too many chances to be the best team in your league, and it's not all because of you, because you're not really a top 5, top 10 player yet. You find yourself at the top of the league every time out, every season out. So I like, again, going back to Koby Altman. I think if you watch the way he even interacts with his players, it's very much so like this. It's like he's doing a podcast, and they have a podcast with the Cleveland Cavaliers, so it's dope.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have like a series. I was doing some research on them. They have like a series, like a podcast series, and he sits down every time he interacts with players. he's telling them like, yo, I'm about to do a meeting for scouting, whatever it is, and it's very organic. It's nothing, it doesn't seem like a fraud. He's like a real true New Yorker, man. I'm very proud of just that dude running Cleveland. And the way I love the way what's the owner's name?
Dan Gilbert.
Dan Gilbert, the way he introduced him, you can tell he's just like, yo, this guy's street smart and he's book smart. Like the way he said, he was very proud to like, it was a really great decision we made to introduce him as a GM. So he jumped from GM to president. Like I said, Micheal Ujiri's up there, and Leon Rose. They kind of represent to me.
The jury's still out on Leon Rose.
Yeah, but because you know why? Because you like Ujiri is in Toronto. He was in Denver when he made the Carmelo trade, right? And then you have Koby Altman working his way up. Those kind of GMs to me, it seemed like the old school type of fraternity style general manager and front office and executive, as you put it. But the Leon Rose of the world, Rob Pelinka, these guys were, this is Kobe's old agent, right? Nico Harrison is a guy from Nike. He was Kobe's right-hand man. He was very tight with Kobe Bryant. So do you have any worries about that? Because I don't know how I feel about that. I try to ask people, how do you know who's going to be the next best coach or the next best general manager as a fan? I can't tell. So do you have anything?
Right now, I think Nico Harrison has done all he can do with the situation that he's in. Look, like I said, man, we have a history of not being able to reel in that big fish. And Nico Harrison is trying to change that culture right now. And like I said earlier when we were discussing it, he's a player's executive, in my opinion. You know, he has that relationship with players already from being a Nike executive. Now, this doesn't mean that he's going to go out and sign everybody that's with Nike. That's just not going to happen. But also the Mavs, they've dug themselves a hole money-wise, too. The Porzingis contract, the Dinwiddie contract, the Davis Bertans contract. Those are all bad contracts, in my opinion. Not bad players. Well, Bertans might be a bad player, but not bad players, but definitely bad contracts.
I mean, listen, it is what it is. You watch him every day. I get it. We felt like that about Julius Randle over here, but he showed out last night.
Oh, Randle was great last night. Intensity. Finally brought that energy that he was lacking last season. Like, I don't know what happened last season, man.
He went right. He went to his right. He went right. He went right. I was so proud of him, bro. Like, and again, I hope he sees this. I hope he sees our reactions when we see you do well. And even, you know what else I liked about him? He wasn't emotional.
Except when he needed to be, when he was hyped up. You know what I mean? When he finished a big N1 basket at the end of the head. When he was killing him in the post. He made Steven Adams look like chopped chicken a couple times. You know what I'm saying? Like, It was just and Brandon Clark. So the Grizzlies also have a problem, man. The Grizzlies have a problem, and I will say that. And that problem is missing Jaren Jackson Jr. But
he ain't back until December.
Oh man, that's a big loss for them, man. This dude was top 3, top 4 in defensive player of the year voting for a reason last year. And I know people, aren't the highest on accolades, but if they watch Jaren Jackson, big men, and this goes back to Evan Mobley, big men need to be versatile defenders these days. They need to be able to step out on the perimeter. Why do you think Luka targeted Rudy Gobert? Possession after possession after possession every time they play, because he can't guard the perimeter. Evan Mobley can guard the perimeter. Kevin Garnett could guard the perimeter. Jaren Jackson Jr. can guard the perimeter. And those are the type of power forwards that are kind of like, they're the unicorns. They're the real unicorns in today's NBA. The ones that can step out on the perimeter. They could take on a small forward. They could take on a shooting guard. And then they could step back in the paint, and they could take on a power forward and a center too if they need to. And they could also hit outside shots. So Jaren Jackson Jr., he can shoot. Evan Mobley showed last night he's starting to develop a jump shot. What's the biggest gripe on Giannis right now? He needs to learn how to shoot. I don't personally believe that, but
I totally agree with you. Why go away?
Why does he need a jump shot when he's dominating on the open court and he's dominating in the paint?
Again, their general manager and their coach, I don't know who their general manager is, but we know their coach is Budenholzer. You guys got to figure out how to win with the best player in the league, the most
best player in the world right now, man.
What are we doing? Opinion. Yeah.
I can't wait for tonight's game. That's Milwaukee, Philly. Can't wait for it.
And you know why I like it? And I know we got to cut this. I love wrestlers. Embiid, he's a whiny crybaby, but that means he's a character. It draws us in, man. They got something else to talk about. Me to talk shit to Philly fans about. I love it. I love everything about Giannis is a warrior. He doesn't really cry much, but he's intense. And I think, and going back to Julius Randle, you were right. He was emotional at the right times because even when he disagreed with the calls, he ran to the coach, ran towards Thibodeau. Was like, yo, he's beefing with him about it. And then they told him like, calm down. I loved everything I saw about that. You were right. I think I agree with you about Jaren Jackson, Triple J. First of all, we got to show some damn respect to the original Triple J's from your Mavericks teams in the 90s. Jim Jackson was my favorite player for like 2 months.
Jimmy Jackson.
Yo, Jim Jackson was my.
I've hated Tony Braxton ever since.
Yo, I told Dom Dropper this. Shout out to Dom Dropper. I always tell him.
I love Darian, man. That's my guy.
Dom is a crazy historian. I tell him Jim Jackson was my favorite player for 2 months because Jim Jackson looked like my pops. So I used to seeing pictures of him, just watching play. And he had a back-to-back 50-point game. I was like, I told you he's the best player in the league. People were like, shut up, calm down. Jackson was good.
Man, those early 90s Mavericks team. Hey, have a good day, man. Okay. Sorry, saying goodbye to my son. I love the early Mavericks days, man. But the thing with Jimmy Jackson was, I think he never settled into a role. It was always, all right, tonight I'm going to be a scorer. The next night I'll be more of a facilitator. You know, he never really settled into a role. I think if he had just focused on being a scorer, he would have been amazing. You know what I mean? But he was floated around. I want to say he was in the double digits of teams he played for, because I remember him playing for the Rockets and the Suns with Nash and McGrady. You know, he was on the Suns with Nash as a bench player. He was on the Rockets with McGrady as a bench player. You know, and he dealt with it was a bad taste in Mavs fans' mouths from the beginning because he sat out most of his rookie season with a contract dispute. Do you remember that?
I only remember looking back on it. Looking back on it. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah, but then and then all the drama happened with the love triangle or whatever with Tony Braxton and him and Mashburn and Kidd, and it was just they broke that up and it sucked, you know. And we didn't really get anything going until we got Nash, Finley, and Nowitzki, the Mavs teams that I fell in love with. You know, when they had that big French dude, Rafe LaFrentz.
He was really French?
I think so. I hope I'm not making that up. But I'm pretty sure he was French.
It sounds LaFrentz sounds like you're saying friends in Spanish or something like that. But I did want, because that triple D, they really destroyed that team, and it had to do with tab. I did want to talk about that before I get you out of here. Like, just, do you think it's so funny you brought that up? Do you think that the NBA news now is more like a tabloid? In New York, we have Page 6. It's like TMZ.
I gotta tell you something about the way the NBA is covered today, man. And I'm taking my hat off for this. Yeah. Now, see, I'm kind of in the NBA media right now. And
not kind of, man. Don't tell me you really should be reading your articles. I have beef with you with this top 20 small forwards of the 2000.
Bro, I don't pick that. I don't pick that. I gotta write what my boss tells me to write. Oh, you mean the top 10 small forwards of the 2000s?
Yes, top 10.
Oh, that was all me. That was all me.
So before we get there, I'm sorry, real quick. Yeah, NBA news being tabloid media. I think
everything's all about who can get the most clicks, who can get the most views, and in order to do that, NBA fans, I want to say most, because we're not like most fans, me, you, Dime, Coach. Some other of our Twitter, people, we aren't like most fans. But most fans, they don't care about the sport of it. The passion and the love for the game isn't there anymore. This is about being entertained now. This is about comedy and hot takes and all that kind of stuff. And that's what gets everybody's attention. And the authenticity of people and what they really feel in their minds and their hearts about the game of basketball has faded away. And that's my problem with the media. So, yes, you're absolutely right. It has turned into the National Enquirer in a lot of cases. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just make stuff up. Oh, I feel this way. This is my opinion, but we're going to present it as facts. And that's a huge issue with all sports media, but it's a glaring issue in NBA media.
And I think when you write your top 10, even though I disagree with, let's say, Ronald Peja Stojakovic, I love Peja. He's too high when Marion and Artest, they contributed, and Grant Hill contributed to all their teams.
Well, Grant Hill wasn't himself in Orlando.
Right. When he was healthy, he
He
contributed.
was all right. He was all right. But Peja was almost an MVP.
Yeah. Peja was. That step back move is not talked about. He's almost forgotten about as a shooter. He was amazing. The NBA, the 2K Sacramento Kings, when you play them on NBA 2K,
he couldn't miss. Couldn't miss.
It was crazy.
I used to even throw it to him on the Mavs when he was back with the Mavs in 2011. And I was playing 2K on like the original Xbox, or it was NBA Live on the original Xbox.
The Dreamcast, Sega Dreamcast. That's what it was. It was the first. It was the first system that I could remember that went online.
Yeah.
But I think going back to what we were just saying, that's my point. We can argue about that without, even if we get heated, but we know what the hell we're saying right now. And I used to feel like,
and I'm not going to trash Ron Artest to make Peja Stojakovic look better. I don't need to. I can use facts in my argument. I don't need to be like, but he was a shitty dribbler. You know what I mean? Like, he couldn't handle the rock. He couldn't create his own shot. First of all, Peja could create his own shot because when defenders would cheat on him on the perimeter, he'd go right by him. But I don't need to talk like that. And that's why I don't talk about the MJ LeBron debate at all. Is because it has turned into a hissy fit between fan bases. It's not even a debate about basketball anymore. They're bringing the fact that this man smokes cigars and gambles on golf into a freaking basketball debate. You know what I mean? Like, why is that being brought up in a basketball debate? Why is the fact that he's not really a good team owner being brought into the fact that he can the way he played basketball?
I think I'm okay with that because I'm okay with just having these thoughts and thinking out loud with us. If you have like-minded people around,
that barbershop talk. You know what I'm saying? That's like, oh man, like Jordan cheated on his wife 35 times. Yeah, but that don't affect his basketball play. Come on, that doesn't take away from who he was as a basketball player. Oh, LeBron opened a school. That doesn't add to his legacy as a basketball player. Although it does add to his legacy as a human.
Yeah.
Because LeBron is a great human. And like, I'm not a disrespectful Jordan fan. I think, here's my view on the GOAT debate. I have MJ as my GOAT. I'm really biased when it comes to it because I think, as you know, I lost my brother almost a year ago, and he was a huge Michael Jordan fan, had a Michael Jordan tattoo on his back.
God bless.
All that stuff. So I don't think I'll ever be, that's my GOAT. It's kind of like Allen Iverson, right? That's my GOAT forever. But LeBron James, look, if you have him as your GOAT, I ain't mad at you. You got to present your argument in an intelligent manner. You got to present your argument using facts, and don't like bring your opinion into it. You know what I'm saying? So
I think, and I know we gotta shut this down real quick. I got Mike as the GOAT, and I think you can cut their careers and split it in half. You look at their first half of their careers, look at the second half of their careers. I can never, and maybe it's not an opinion for me. I could never say, this was Michael Jordan's. Like, he didn't try, the effort wasn't there, or the defense was like outsmarted him. Like for LeBron, it took a while to get his half court game in sync, and when he did, that's when the comparison can be made. He's too big. I think he's more talented than Jordan. He's the most talented player I've ever seen. So once you have a high IQ level, an athlete on that level, it's now we can talk. But
he's like more athletic, more physically gifted, and he's Magic Johnson on the most amount of steroids that you can think of. Like he's Magic Johnson on Mark McGuire in the 90s steroids. You know what I mean? Like that's but a better.
Here's my thing.
You know how he's almost on the same level as a facilitator. Although, hold on, Magic Johnson is the best I have ever watched run a transition offense. The best. I don't even think I've. And it's not about fancy passes. His court vision was crazy.
Him or Kid? You got him over Kid.
Easy. Oh, I think Magic Johnson's the best playmaker ever.
Yeah.
I think he's the best playmaker of all time. And you know what? Kid's in that conversation. LeBron is in that conversation. I think you got to give love to Nash in that conversation. Yes. When he had Amari and Marion, I think that, that was obviously Nash at his best, 2-time MVP. Right. Although, that's a conversation for another day. But So I think that conversation can go on forever. I mean,
Yeah.
I give a lot more love to Stockton than a lot of people do these days. I think a lot of people have the false impression that Stockton just dumped the ball to Malone and that was his entire career, which is just completely untrue. I've got like 20 minutes of footage of John Stockton hitting Jeff Hornacek with dimes, like cutting to the basket. Or who was there early in his career? Donyell Marshall. John Stockton made Donyell Marshall look like a freaking all-star on the court, So
Donyell Marshall was there that early with Utah?
Yeah, yep. He shared the floor with Karl Malone.
Okay, I'm thinking of Antoine Carr.
He was more Cleveland, wasn't
he? Yeah, the big dog probably, and then he probably got there a little later.
Don't they call Antoine Carr Mr. Oh, that's Austin Carr. Sorry,
Austin Carr.
Yeah,
but you're right, and I did. I think we touched everything. I want to talk about Draymond, but that would be like, what is there to really say? Because I think it was going back to the whole tabloid thing and where we are. Like, I get it, fights do happen, but he's not on my team. He's not on your team.
I will say this: you wouldn't see an opponent run onto the court during a dead ball and hug the other, a guy from the other team 20 years ago. You just wouldn't see that.
So when we say, because that's the polarizing part about it. I love the wrestling aspect of it. I know I
love his intensity. I love his energy on the court. I think he's one of the most important players. You could argue that he's like the second most important player to that Warriors dynasty. The offense don't look the same when he's not on the floor. The defense don't look the same when he's not on the floor. He is a conductor. He's an orchestrator. He moves people. He's a communicator on the floor. Do you see him pulling these young guys to the side every possession on both sides of the floor? He is so involved with the game. He's so smart, and I don't think his IQ, what he does off of the court should affect how we view him on the court. But you're right. That's back to the tabloid stuff.
Because again, going back to Bob Myers, general manager, front office, Joe Lacob, they realized they knew exactly what they were dealing with. And they knew, hey, actually, we're keeping that because everything you just said off the court, what we don't see on camera, Draymond represents that. It weighs that much on them that they're like, yeah, we need this more than we need. Maybe we need Kevin Durant. He's leaving anyway, so we need this guy who's ultimately loyal. We can use each other, but we can end it there because I know you got to run. It's a busy day. First day of the NBA season officially. Every team played damn near. Nick Mack, I truly, truly appreciate it from Fadeaway World. I wanted to get into more about Fadeaway World, but we'll talk about that some other time.
I would love to come back, man. This was great. I'll talk basketball with anybody anytime. But you're a great guy, dude, and thank you for reaching out and having me on here, man.
Nah, man. Pleasure is all mine. I truly appreciate it. You already know Fabian Perspective, so expected and accepted. It's when season 2, episode 3. That was Nick Mack, and we'll catch you on the flip side later.